All right. We're here today in the Mama's Den. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I missed you.
Missed you too.
How are you doing?
Good. Just tired all the time.
We're down one. Codie's not here today.
I know.
But that's okay because I think today's topic is really important. It's something that seems so simple, but I think that it's something that we all, one, it's an element that brought us all together.
Right.
And then two, I think it's something that people kind of take for granted as, maybe just a feeling or a thing. We're talking about happiness and joy and the many forms it comes in and what it means to us individually and what it means to you who's listening. I think we don't really ask that question to ourselves, right? Like, what does it mean to be happy? We think, oh, happy. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you angry? And I think as you get older and you become more mindful of the way that you live and the way that you approach your life, it's really important to ask yourself really what falls on your happiness spectrum.
Right.
And I think it's individual for people. I think on a basic level for me, it's feeling that my needs are met at all times, right? Like that makes me feel secure. That makes me feel happy. Some people, it's love. Some people, it's money.
Yeah.
Some people find that security through money. So it makes them feel happy.
When you were saying that, for me, like I've really gotten into a place of making myself happy. So I think a lot of my life, I was like sad or moody or depressed. I don't know, because I was feeling like abandoned or wanting other people to make me happy in a way. Do you know what I mean? And so when that wasn't met, I felt very like alone. And I think that even with my husband, like he's amazing, but there's still just stuff that I feel like he doesn't do the way that I would want it to be done or in a way that makes sense to me. And I think the moment that I really decided like, I'm just going to be in charge of my own happiness. Like if I want to go on this date, then I'm going to plan the date. If I want to do X, Y, and Z, then I'm just going to make sure that it happens, because otherwise, if I sit around and wait for someone to, even if I've explained it to you, use communication, but sometimes people just don't get it. You know what I mean? And what I know, what I need, like for that moment, I provide it for myself. So that's where I've been
like that saying, happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
Because it really is.
I feel like it's actually interesting because this is a newer thing that I'm practicing, which is like taking control of my own happiness. And I think for so long, I just didn't think that I deserved happiness. I felt like it was a thing that everyone around me is supposed to experience, but I'm not supposed to experience it all the way. And then I got to a point where I was like, no, I'm about to start honoring myself. And when I did that, I really tapped into new levels of like happiness and joy. And joy, I feel like, is it's a very childlike space to be. Like when you see a child like happy, it's like that's joy. Joy is so pure. It's so, so I feel like I am in my joy. And it's crazy because when I'm so happy or I'm in these moments, I also have times where I feel guilty. Where I'm like, I'm not supposed to be this happy. What? How come and then you see other people that aren't as happy and I'm like, oh my God, am I doing something wrong?
Right.
So it's actually a little uncomfortable to really like go there, you know?
Absolutely.
So, I feel like also my relationships that I'm in right now too, I'm like you said, it's like, if I want to go on a date, I'm gonna plan the damn date. This is what I want to do. And I think I would be disappointed. I would wait around like, okay, well, let me wait for this person to do it, and then they don't do it, but it's like, okay, what happens when I release expectation?
There's that old saying like, if you learn to accept rather than expect, you will have fewer disappointments.
Oh, who said that, boo?
And I don't even know.
I
don't know, but it's something that
who said that, Jesus?
who said that? Your homegirl. I've never forgot that as like a kid, and I just always carried it. And it's funny because I remember always being a very happy kid, and I remember I posted this like recently, where as I got older, I remember somebody, I don't even know where I was, but somebody once said to me like, why are you so happy all the time?
Oh.
And I remember at the time, I didn't know how to process like, is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
And then I got older, it's like, sis, why aren't you happy?
Okay.
See?
That's you projecting onto me. Again, it's a personal thing, and like happiness really does. And like joy, when you say joy, I always go back to this place. I remember I had a spiritual reading. It was a soul retrieval. And I remember my healer was able to identify that my soul pieces were connected to my 4-year-old self and my 17-year-old self. And she told me that I always have to be mindful of making sure that those versions of myself are fed and happy. And I remember after I had that reading, a girlfriend of mine gave me a stuffed animal. Okay. I'm not a stuffed animal person. Like never was sentimental about stuffed animals. Don't care about keeping them. She gave me a stuffed animal. You know that dog, Boo, the dog, the Pomeranian dog? It's like that famous Pomeranian dog.
You've probably seen it. Yeah.
But they made it into a stuffed animal, and it was right around my birthday, and she gave it to me because she knows I love dogs. It's like, when I tell you this thing brought me so much joy that I went on tour, and Boo was on a speaker on the side of the stage. And like, I would look at him and feel so happy, but I knew that was my inner child being like, this is joy. This makes me happy. It's like when you go to the park and you just let yourself be on the swings and it's not about your kids.
Yeah.
It's like,
I hate the swings, but yes.
I love the swings. I'm like, Cameron, push yourself. I got to swing.
I get motion sickness. Doesn't bring me joy.
You know, like,
I do get like that too. You're like, you can't kick your legs back and forth yet.
Figure it out.
I want to play too.
I need to go high, okay? So, you know, like joy, it and how we find joy is in tiny ways, I think.
Man.
Yeah.
You know, and like overarching happiness. But I love that happiness really does, for each of us, comes from within.
Yes.
Yeah. This is really true.
When you said as child, like I think about my daughter because she's like going through transition of being like a little girl to a teenager. And I specifically remember the moment that like that childish joy like shifted, and it made me really sad. And I had to have a conversation with her, like, you can still do that stuff. Like she used to just sing and dance in the living room, and there's just this moment where they're very conscious of themselves. They're aware of themselves, and it leaves. And so I tried to like reiterate her like just being carefree and loving. And so me and Chia like we'll do like just dance with her, and her dad can not dance, but it's funny because I want her to see us being like inhibited. What is the word? Uninhibited. That's sad. Yeah. I majored in English, but you know what I meant.
I know what you meant, girl.
Yeah, but I want her to witness that and see that, because I feel like if we continue to display that, then she will come back to that side of herself. But that's how I feel. Even like I realize there's just a moment where we become aware of ourselves and we lose a little bit of that joy, and you have to relearn it. You know, like that it doesn't matter what other people are thinking about you. Like to just feel free and be yourself. That's where the real joy comes from.
Well, I can honestly say that in the last few years of my life, in losing a lot of that, in kind of breaking away from the constructs of being heavily in the public eye, having a team of people around voicing opinions and structures of the way things are standard and the way they're supposed to be and how you move and what is appealing and what isn't. Like, since I've broken free from that, I have found another level of happiness to my life, because for me, happiness is freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, knowing that there is no one or nothing that is going to affect your ability to choose what it is that you want to do for yourself, to be free. And so I finally feel like I'm in that place. And so I know that even in some of the hardest moments of my life in the last few years, I've still felt happy through it.
Absolutely.
Because I know that I can still choose. Like, there's nothing else.
It's definitely
there,
a choice.
And
you
trying
know?
to teach you something too. I feel like when you also start to understand that, it makes the disappointments just a little bit more graceful and like going through, you know?
Yeah, like, I mean, isn't it amazing when you get to that place when you can just, and I hope that people can, because I truly do believe this. Like, I really stopped looking at things as good or bad. You know, like we have this like gauge of, oh, this is so good and this is so bad. And we look at other people's lives and we compare that way as well. And truly, if you just accept, again, back to acceptance versus expectation, if you can learn to accept things for just as they are and really understand that everything is happening, I believe, for a purpose and a reason.
Absolutely.
And it may never reveal what it is in that time. And so, you know, it could turn out to be the biggest blessing through a hard lesson on the other side of it. And then you're so grateful for that. You feel like you dodged a bullet or you leveled up in some sort of way. And that's, seeing that growth within yourself is also, I think, a beautiful representation of happiness in your life. And people can draw on that. Like, think about what you've overcome to find that happiness.
I think also surrendering to that. Surrendering to the idea of like, okay, this thing is happening because of this thing. But when you look back at the blueprint of your life, like individually, everything always works out. And it always works out better than what you expected it to be for the most part.
Sometimes.
You know? Sometimes. But I feel like more often than not.
Yes, absolutely.
Not, you know?
But I think it's also equally about, like you said, just like there's acceptance, right? And it's perspective. Like one conversation I've been consistently having with a lot of my friends is about showing people grace, right? Because I think for me, when I felt like things were happening to me, right? And you have an expectation of other people. And one of my homegirls let me listen to this podcast a long time ago. I don't even remember what it's called, but the lady, it was like a Christian-based podcast. And she was like, what if God came down and told you that that is literally the best that someone could do? Then how do you feel about them? Like, no, that is their best.
Literally.
Like there's nothing else after that. So then there's a level of grace that you have to give people. And I think that when you exercise grace with other people, it allows you to have more joy and happiness because you relinquish the expectation, right? And you're also feeling like this doesn't have anything to do with me, because we walk around often feeling like victimized, like this is happening to me and they're doing this to me. Like the way people treat you has nothing to do with you. Even if you do something to them, the way they respond has nothing to do with you. It's their own level and accountability and ability to like release, right? So now when I'm having interactions with people or just dealing with anyone, specifically like my parents, right? And you have this expectation that you used to have, now I have a level of grace. Like they're just people. This is where we are today. How can I find joy in this moment with you? How can I be happy in this moment with you? This is all you can give me. I'm never going to get more from you from this. And even friends, because when I do that, then I am allowing myself now to create the joy that I want, create the life that I want, create the happiness that I want with my children, with everyone around me, because I no longer have an expectation of them of anything, right? And I feel like that's really where the real peace comes from, is when you stop expecting people to show up in a specific way and you allow them to be who they are. And then you can like create your life around who brings you the most peace and who doesn't. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And just allow people to just be who they are and pick the right people to be in your space where you have more joy.
I do. And I also think operating from a space of when I showed myself more grace and more compassion and more understanding, and I really took the time to get to know who I am and not what everybody else has ever told me that I needed to be, it allowed me to project that grace onto other people.
Absolutely.
I'm like, so then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know it's not personal. Like, because when I look back at my life, well, shit, I was doing that, but it actually had nothing to do with that person. Right. Had everything to do with my dad lying, or like, you know, it could just be something else.
No, that's so crazy that you say that, because I was telling my friend about like, she's talking about like a breakup, and I'm like, you know what, like focus on yourself. Like when me and my ex broke up, I just looked at myself and said, why was I attracted to that? Why did I want that? Why was I okay with that? It's not about them, it's about me. And then I realized like, okay, I didn't love myself enough. Like I didn't believe in myself. I thought I deserved that. I don't really focus on other people anymore. I focus on myself and why I'm in these situations, why they're happening this way, and what I can do to create a better outcome or create better relationships with people or situations. And then I feel way more peace that way.
Yeah, you're in the driver's seat of your own life.
I'm not worried about it.
Take the reins back, like shit.
But
my shit, this is my sled. This is my horse.
Yeah, I like how you mounted that.
No,
I don't know where we're going, but we going. It's fine.
But we going somewhere.
But I think we just aren't taught that. You know, we're taught to be partners and taught to be like, if you're this way, you can attract this. We can attract specific energy, and it is true. But equally, like we can also be in charge of that energy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You can curate it for sure.
Yeah, I curate my joy with my kids. Like when they're driving me crazy, I'm like, let's go to the park. Like, let's go on a walk. Y'all want a popsicle? I feel like my parenting style is a reflection of that joy too, right? Yeah. Because when my kids, I can feel their energy and feel when something's off. Instead of matching that by yelling and getting more upset and just now everybody's mad in the house.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, let's watch a movie.
Yes.
And it feels so wrong because that's not how most of us were raised. And we weren't taught that. But like, I really realized the power of teaching them to regulate themselves. Because my friend was laughing at me like, who tells their kid that? Because I was on the phone with my homegirl and Azara was just losing her shit. And I was like, you gotta go in your room and do that. Yeah. And when you feel better, come back. Like you can be mad and scream, but you just can't do that in front of me because I don't want to hear it.
Not in my space.
No, but go in your own space.
In my bubble. Yeah.
And she draws angry pictures now when she's mad. I'm like, dude, what? Like I want to draw, and it just be so mad, like just
right.
I'm like, get it out. That's better than screaming.
She sounds like Zen.
She sounds so much like energy.
Zen said, I could go in my room. I'm like, okay, have fun undoing the baby lock. You can't even get in there. And he just be like,
But don't you feel like a good mom when you just allow them to feel? Because then you know, like, they're going to be better for that, right?
Girl, I be feeling like Superwoman. When they're tripping and I just look and I'm like, and I ask myself, like, how do you feel right now? You feeling good? I'm like, that ain't my problem, baby.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not.
Absolutely.
No.
And I also realize the more that I operate from a space of like let's say, like I always say, Zen is my turn-up baby. But anytime he's tripping, sometimes I would just get so overwhelmed. Yeah. But he has literally taught me to just like stop, take a moment. You are the adult. He is the child. Yep. Like, you know, really talking to myself like a kid.
I talk to myself every day, child.
You know, but
don't kill them.
Now when I do raise my voice, he like, But before he would just be like, okay, there she goes.
Yeah,
just,
like always yelling. Yeah. No.
I'm like,
I gotta teach Chia to raise his voice. My kids are more scared of me than they are him. He'd be like, I'm not playing. And they'd be like, okay.
they be like,
right. Then I'd be like, I'm not playing. They'd be like,
yeah.
I think it's relative to us as adults,
Yeah.
right? Because even if you're not a parent, it's like, are you aware of the things that you need to do to come back to that happiness?
True.
Are you aware of how to regulate yourself? Because also, I think too, a lot of people from various walks of life, sometimes, like you said, when you grew up, like you were looking and searching for certain things. Some people, they might feel like they have this perpetual rain cloud over their head and they can't find the joy in certain things. And I think that it's really important for people to try to find the tiniest joy.
Yeah.
Did you get to where you needed to go on time today? Did you pass some beautiful creation of God's earth where it was just a beautiful flower? Like, I think there's so many ways that we can find small joys and small ways to be okay, like things to be happy. And I think truly at the base of it all is gratitude.
Yes.
Will leave you no room to feel unhappy.
That's so true.
Because if you are operating from gratitude, you are just constantly grateful for the smallest of things.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how bad that day has gone, like you're alive.
I had gratitude when
know?
my sister passed away. That's so true, because I think when I was so sad and depressed, I just looked around like, man, I'm so grateful I have these friends here who love me and are like filling me up and just really making sure that I'm not alone. And I think that I always say when someone's like, what is the biggest, like when my sister died, I feel like I learned every life lesson in that moment. You know, I really believe that, because I specifically remember having one of the best days of my life, like the day after she died, like laughing with my friends and remembering my sister. And like, we were laughing till we were crying, and it was just really beautiful. And in that moment, I realized just like duality of life, like the worst thing could be happening to you. And it's really how you choose to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's your response to things.
But it sounds like so corny, and people be like, but
no, it's
you
real.
don't know, like
No,
I'm
it's
dying,
real.
or
It's
my
real.
mom has cancer, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes. And that may end up a specific way. And there's literally nothing you can do about it. So you have two choices. You either going to be mad every day of your life about what happened, or you're going to try to be happy knowing like that it's not going to change.
I'm very big on like finding the silver lining.
Yeah.
There's silver lining in every single experience.
Yes, you
it's
can
like
create
find
it.
it. Find where
Make
it is.
it up.
Yeah.
If you have to, but just find, like you're saying, find it. Yeah.
My perspective is like, if you don't find the silver lining, if you don't find the lesson, that lesson gonna come right back. It's not gonna go away until you pass it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't you want to elevate from this level of life? I'm like, come on, let's get to the.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in life, it's levels,
Yep.
it's tiers. So if I see myself doing the same thing over and over and over, I'm like, okay, I'm not learning because I haven't graduated this level.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, it's time to go up, you know? Yeah, interesting.
Something that I like preach all the time is stop letting what happened to you happen to you.
Girl.
Because that's
And
one
person.
that is one way to perpetually stay in a place that you don't necessarily want to be. And I
true.
feel like people need to acknowledge their feelings. Like
Yes.
if you're having a hard day, it's okay to acknowledge your feelings. If somebody hurt your feelings, acknowledge that shit. But I do believe that if you again come back to the gratitude, come back to it, you can find your way back. Honestly, I always just remind myself like being alive is a gift,
Girl.
okay? Because life is just not. We all know it's going to end, and I'm not trying to be heavy, but like we all know there's an end date for everything and everyone,
Absolutely.
right? And so it's just like I don't ever want to look back on my life and feel that I spent the majority of my life in search of happiness versus living in the happiness of my presence, of like what is presently happening in my life. Because I think there's ways to be happy even in the hardest times.
Hell yeah.
So, you know, it's a whole thing. But like even getting coffee is a small thing. When I drop Cam at like camp or like he's doing something and I go and I just drive. Fortunately, God bless, thank God, we live. It's not too busy and we have these mountains now since we moved out to the suburbs. And the drive to my coffee spot is therapy for me every day. I'm just like, look at these hills, and I'm by myself. And I'm like, this is wonderful. I have peace and quiet right now. I don't know if anybody's driving in their car right now. Like, think about this is your time.
Yeah.
You know, I hope like you feel filled and you're getting something for this. But that's it. Like the smallest things we can find it in.
Yeah.
It's funny when you said find the smallest things of joy. The first thing I thought about was when I get my coffee in the morning. I'm
I
like
don't
literally
drink
spending my
coffee.
little $3-4. I'll just be feeling like, okay. It doesn't work anymore on me, but here we go. Like, shit.
Your coffee immune.
So
I'm like, I don't know. Just keep giving you my money.
It's just an experience. Now, I mean,
Exactly.
I don't drink coffee, but that's how I feel when I get to sleep in every day. Like, I just feel so blessed. Like, thank you, God, that even if everything, I wake up, I roll over, I get these emails like, denied. And I'm like, But then I'm like, but I'm sleeping in. God is good. And then I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, because I keep telling myself over and over again, either I'm going to get all the things that I want or I'm not. But I definitely know I'm going to die. So like in the meantime and in between time, I'm just going to be happy. But that's the only choice I have.
But you also know that everything that you're going to get is yours.
Or I'll come back as somebody else and I'll get it then. I don't know. But either way, it doesn't, like the point too is that you can't spend your whole life just being like, no, I might go back.
No, trust me, I hear you.
No, but seriously, but either way, like why, we literally know we're going to die and we don't know when. So why would you spend every day stressing about something that you can't control? Do everything you can to be where you want to be and be where you need to be. And in the meantime, you just have to because I grew up in the hood, so I get it. I definitely know what it's like to grow up without and to be poor, and your focus is always money. And that is very stressful. Like when you don't have money, I do understand that mindset. And I don't like to try to be like gloss over that, because I remember my mindset back then versus now is very different.
Absolutely. You don't really have that full freedom.
No, and you feel stressed. Everything you do, if you're going out to eat with your friends, or you got to check your bank account first, or like you have to make choices like, damn, do I want to do this or do that? Yeah, like it is really hard to not have money, and that is a real stressor. So I don't want to be insensitive to that. But equally, I still had a lot of joy back then too. Yeah. My mom taught me that like it was really about family and love, and we didn't have a lot, but I felt so much love from my mom and joy because we would just do the simplest things, like go on family walks. Sometimes we all just get in a car and we would drive to like, and then just like do a little hike or something. And I realized very easily how, and my mom cooked, like her food is so amazing. And just every night she made us homemade meals and they were so good. And we would just sit around the like,
you were smiling talking about
my mom.
I'm like, wait, first of all, I feel like, because you were saying, I remind you a lot of your mom, but I feel like your mom sounds like my mom.
Really?
Yeah, like the way that they parent, like doing activities and like being a single mom. I'm like, no, that sounds like my mom.
You remind me of my mom. Just I always say that, but just like the love that you give your kids, it's like very, I don't know, I feel very familiar when I'm around you. Like this is like what my mom would have been like as a young mom. You know what I mean?
I love it.
But it's beautiful and it works because your daughters are going to be like your daughter's going to grow up and be like me. Like,
did you say daughters with an S?
I did. I don't know where that came from. Okay.
Come on, round 2.
Round 3.
Okay, so
let me just get my little titties and just be cute for a minute. Damn.
It's still time.
Let me be cute for a second.
So I think that this is really important. This is really important. If you were to identify a memory, like you just brought up your childhood, right? If you were to think about a memory that was like pure joy and happiness, Fee, what would it be for you?
Oh my God.
Because I think it's important for people to know.
Oh wait, you said from a childhood?
Yeah, from your childhood.
Pure joy and happiness. Oh my gosh. Probably when I was like in elementary school. And it would be me and my 3 best friends. It was me, Kalisha, Jetty, and Yvette. And I would bring like a little tape recorder to school. And I would, like, when Destiny's Child would come on the radio, I would press record. And like the whole song would go through. So then I would come to school like, you guys, I have the tape. And we would sing and dance. And like I would be Beyonce, Kalisha would be Kelly. Like we had but it was so fun. I'd be like, and then the bell would ring and it'd be over. But it was such a moment, especially because I spent so much time alone as a child. Yeah. I feel like being with my friends was like everything to me, you know? Aww. But I always feel like that's the memory. I'm always like, I felt like such a child.
Oh, that's beautiful.
See, I think that we should be more encouraged to like hold on to those things and to remember those things. Because I remember even when I was pregnant with Cam, I remember a lot of the birthing coaches and people that I had spoken to, they were always like, think of a happy place for you.
When you're pushing the baby out?
When you're in labor and it gets difficult, to always envision what your happy place is. There's 2 instances of happy that I remember seeing like perfect examples. And this is not from my childhood. I remember going to India and I was there for a very posh event, whatever. And I remember leaving the hotel and going out into the streets of Mumbai. And I remember it literally went from like extreme wealth to poverty. And I remember driving through a town and seeing these 2 little boys playing in the street. First of all, there's a cow in the middle of the street, playing amongst trash with no shoes, just absolutely nothing around them, kicking the ball back and forth. These two little boys look the happiest I've ever seen in my life. It puts so much into perspective for me. I never forgot that. And every time I think about it, joy, you know, your happiness and your joy is all your perspective. You know, we're over here dealing with kids who feel entitled with Amazon and shit, and they asking for all these things. And I just saw these kids in pure joy with nothing, not even their basic needs particularly met. And they were so happy and free. And then my happy place for me, I'll never forget it, where I found that like happiness and joy was also during travel, because travel's a big, like seeing the world and experiencing new things is a happy place for me always. And I remember bathing an elephant in Thailand in a Thai river. And I remember giggling that I could not stop giggling. I was giddy. And I just remember like this high-pitched laugh coming out of me that I don't think I've heard since. Yeah. But I always go back to that place. If I ever have a hard something, I'm just like, go to that place. Just think about what that place is. Because I think we all can have them. Absolutely. And it's so important to know, like when you think about your mom's cooking, you smile. Yes. You know, these are the things. There's so many beautiful reasons to be happy. Yeah. It really is.
It was. My mom could cook.
Funny. This girl. I'm telling you, I be in it and then all I hear is this. I'm like, huh?
I can't wait. Good. I was just saying, I can't wait to listen back and hear it. When I listen back and I hear all of Ashley's side commentary.
All the commentary is hilarious. I'm like, turn the volume up on this one.
Well, I'll have my mom cook for you and you'll be like, oh, okay.
Listen, my mom is in town and my whole soul has been full all week.
So is she still here?
She's still here.
Oh, that's
beautiful. Trust me, the food is
Can I don't have to expose her to myself, but like, can we just put a plate at the door?
Yes, we will. I know it's cold, but can you make me a
plate? To cook.
Because she can make curry, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I want some curry.
She already made curry this week and we ate it up. We sure did. Then she made cook-up rice.
I'll bring the ingredients.
Oh, the food.
Make it again.
So I can make you curry. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
She said, I'll bring the ingredients, make it again.
I don't like when people tell me they can cook and then I ain't
listen to me.
Food.
And I have to tell you this.
Let me be the judge of that.
You guys are
Amazon. Or what is the grocery thing?
Yeah.
Instacart?
Yeah.
Instacarting you all the ingredients.
Yeah. Let's see.
Done.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and I have to say that I was saying this to my girlfriend on the car here, like this podcast, coming to meet with you guys to record these things during such a crazy time of our lives has been a huge source of joy for me.
Me too.
And happiness just to be able to share
I'm gonna cry.
Be vulnerable.
I probably am gonna cry. Because first of all, I'm a crybaby. I'll let you guys know now.
Come on, Scorpio.
Yes.
I am too.
No, but I feel that. The other day I was just telling someone, I was like, I really, really am so happy that we're doing this podcast together. Because people always bring it up, but I'm like, no, but my two friends, like we're all doing this podcast. Yeah. I'm like,
it's great. It really is. It's been something I look forward to.
Codie.
Codie, but really, like just looking forward to this, having something to look forward to, having something to connect and create community is just so important. And it's been a huge source of my happiness. So thank you so much for being a part of my happiness.
Oh, thank you for being a part of ours. I love you guys.
I love y'all too.
And we just hope everybody feels happy
and joyful.
Bye.
We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.